As part of our Guru Shishya Prelims Test Series 2023, we are solving some questions, especially from this ancient India. Okay. Now there is a question. Consider the following statements. It's a two statement type questions. In the UPSC prelims examination, for every aspirant, it is very essential to be familiar with that pattern of the UPSC questions. You should know what are the different types of UPSC questions. Two statement types are there, three statement types are there, or four statement types are there. Sometimes if you are lucky enough, five statement type questions are also there. Then ABCD questions are there. Then what is the next category? Match the pair is there, negation questions are there, map questions are there, recently only one pair, only two pairs type questions also you've seen. Now here, be familiar with the type of the questions, pattern and trend of this paper. Now this is Harisena's Rajatarangini gives an account of the history of Kalinga. Harisena's Rajatarangini gives an account of the history of Kalinga. So when it comes to this ancient Indian literature, few things you have to take into consideration. First important thing is, I would say, yes, when you study the literature, please take care the authors. Okay, literature can be Indian literature, foreign literature, it can be secular literature, religious literature. They throw lights into the socio-economic, political, cultural history of ancient India. Am I right? Am I right? Yes. So when it comes to literature, please take care who is the author. Who is the author of that particular literature, literary work. Second thing is, of course, you should know what is the theme. What is the theme or what is the subject dealt with. Subject dealt with. Okay. Another important thing is, of course, you should know the chronology, or maybe have an idea about its particular timeline. Some literature which happened in the Mauryan age, some in the post-Mauryan age, some in the Gupta age, some in the post-Gupta age. Am I right? So Harisena is, you know, even if you don't have the idea about other portions, you know, you have the idea that this Harisena is the court poet of Samudragupta. Am I right? Somebody who belongs to, he is the author of that Allahabad Prashasti, Allahabad inscriptions, Sanskrit inscription which talk about Samudragupta's military achievements and all. Am I right? Harisena is a court poet of this Samudragupta. Okay, so we know that Harisena is Samudragupta's like a court poet, and Rajatarangini is something different. Okay, this belongs to Harisena, that is Gupta Empire, means that belongs to maximum it is 4 or 5 centuries AD. Rajatarangini is something India's first ever, you know, an Indian historical text which is written in the 12th century AD, and it is by Kalhana only. Kalhana, in that way, he is the first Indian historian. Am I right? First ever Indian attempt to write the history of India, that is Kalhana's Rajatarangini. Rajatarangini, literally the river of kings. It talks about, yes, the kings of this Kashmir. Okay. So Rajatarangini is written by Kalhana. It is not by Harisena. It belongs to 12th century AD, and Harisena belongs to Gupta era. Okay. And it talks about the history of Kalinga. It's not about Kalinga. Rajatarangini, that talks about the history of Kashmir, the political history of Kashmir, the Sanskrit historical work on these Kashmiri kings. Am I right? So it is not about Kalinga. That way I eliminated the first statement. The Greek ambassador Megasthenes in his Indica says slavery is prohibited under law enacted by ancient Indian sages. This is a false observation made by Megasthenes. Megasthenes was the Greek ambassador to the court of this Chandragupta Maurya founder. Am I right? Yes. And his observation was like this, slavery was totally absent here. Whatever he said is, you know, yes, slavery prohibited under a law enacted by ancient Indian sages. That was his observation. But Kaudilya's Arthashastra and this Smriti literature say, yes, slavery was, it was an approved institution. Slavery was practiced right from Vedic times. Am I right? Slavery was there. Okay. But his observation was, slavery is prohibited under a law enacted by ancient Indian sages. Technically, that statement is correct, because that is the view of Megasthenes. Am I right? So that is correct one. Here you are asked which one is correct statement. Okay, so the correct one is 2 only. Moving on to other question. Yes, there is there is something regarding Jainism. The question is regarding Jainism. Okay, this is Vardhamana Mahavira had 24 predecessors. Okay, Vardhamana Mahavira has 24 predecessors. Actually, how many Tirthankaras are there? Only 24, and Vardhamana Mahavira happened to be the final one and the most important one. That way, then how many predecessors he should have? 23 only. Okay, so factually it is 23. It is 23 only. Here given 24, that is. Sometimes, you know, I mean, these are, sometimes it will not strike in the mind, but take care that the concepts are, the basic concepts must be very clear to you. Parshvadath, the 23rd Tirthankara, introduced celibacy. That was introduced by Vardhamana Mahavira. So you should know the basic ideas, teachings of Vardhamana Mahavira or his contributions, reforms. That is very, very essential. Similar way UPSC asked the questions. Okay. Rishabh was immediate successor of Mahavira. He was the first Tirthankara, and after Mahavira there is no Tirthankara. He was the final episode. Am I right? So of course that statement is technically wrong. So we know that all the three statements are incorrect here, not correct here. They are asking for not valid assumption here. So this is again because of the carelessness you will go for the valid assumption. They are asking not valid assumption. So what are the not valid assumptions here? All the three are not valid assumptions. That way your answer has to be Delhi only, 1, 2 and 3 only. Now there is a question, the word Rajan in Rigveda was sovereign king. Do you think Rigvedic age talk about the sovereign monarchy or the absolute monarchy? No, it is more or less a bit more parliamentarian, republican or democratic kind of, because tribal assemblies existed, am I right? Tribal assemblies existed and the Rajan had limited powers, am I right? Limited bureaucracy, limited powers, and he is not a sovereign monarch. So that statement is, that is wrong, that one is wrong. Then there were striking similarities between Rigvedic Samhita and Tolkapia. Rigvedic Samhita, you try to understand, that is dealing about this Aryan culture, that is hymns in praise of gods, am I right? But the Tolkapiam is the first ever literary work from the second assembly, that is Sangam literature, and they broadly deal with the two subjects, which is Aham or Puram. Am I right? Aham Pura, inner emotions, outer emotions. So they deal with the same subject, or they have striking similarities, means we can say yes, there are many differences between them. Am I right? And Tolkapiam is a work on Tamil grammar. Okay, that is work on Tamil grammar, and that is in Tamil. And Rigvedic Samhita, that is hymns in praise of gods in Sanskrit. Am I right? So that statement is wrong. Then you go for this one, Aryans invaded, destroyed the Harappan culture wholly. The problem is word with holy. Okay, that is also a theory. You know who introduced that theory? Who introduced that theory? Mortimer Wheeler, that Aryan invasion is the reason for this decline, but it is not accepted by majority historians. Okay, it's one of the weakest theory. Even UPC said it is the weakest theory. Now they say that yes, Aryans invaded, Aryans invaded and destroyed Harappan culture wholly. No, multiple decline theories are there. Am I right? Recent archaeological excavations say that change in the subsistence strategy is a reason for, or cropping pattern, change in cropping pattern is a reason for this decline of this urban civilization. So that statement is also wrong. Sometimes you can, this word seems very fishy, unwanted, unnecessary fitting. Okay, that is why we were very suspicious and we eliminated, we got into the answer, and the answer is none of the above. Okay, now here this is something which is regarding Ashokan edicts. Ashokan edicts, you already studied. The practice of having edicts inscribed on the rocks and pillars began soon after demise of Ashoka. This Ashoka, when he was alive, he started this practice. After embracing this Buddhism and adopting this Dhamma, he started this practice. Am I right? Yes, it's a kind of an administrative tool. When he gave up this war through this peace, he wanted to maintain that what is called smooth administration. Okay, so anyway, you see that this is not after demise of Ashoka. When he was very much alive, he started this practice. Okay, The edicts carry hardly any reference to social responsibilities. In fact, it is more, dealing with the duties and responsibilities, how to behave in the society, what all things you have to take care, all those things are there. So it's more about the social responsibilities. That statement is wrong. All ceremonies performed by people are supported by the king in the edicts. The king was against the ceremonies. Why you guys conduct the ceremonies? Okay, so he talk about the ban on ceremonies, rituals, unwanted sacrifices and celebrations, etc., festive gathering, etc. So this statement is wrong. They expect people to exercise restraint in criticizing sects other than their own, which is religious toleration. Religious toleration. So this is something which is correct regarding Ashokan edicts. Others are wrong. Your answer has to be Delhi. Now this is something regarding post-Mauryan schools of art. Post-Mauryan, we heard some Gandhara, Madura, Amaravati schools of art. You remember? Gandhara, Madura, Amaravati schools of art. So the Shagas chiefly patronized Gandhara and Madura schools of sculptural art. Okay, since the word chiefly is given, we know that the chief patrons were not Shagas. We don't know whether Shagas patronized or not. But chiefly patronized means the chief patrons were Kushanas. Am I right? So straight away we strike off. The Shagas chiefly patronized, that is wrong. Gandhara Madura chief patrons were Kushanas, especially Kanishka. Now coming to the main feature of the Amaravati school of art was realistic representation. Realistic representation was the feature of this Gandhara school of anatomical accuracy, Greek realism, that was feature of Gandhara. Coming to Amaravati, narrative art is a feature. Okay, yes, symbolic representation of Buddha, Tribhanga postures or a sequel of these stories. So that is, this is something, realistic representation is not with Amaravati, that is mostly with that, yes, that Gandhara. Madura was secular in sculptural executions. Madura, yes, you see that, yes, it has that Buddhism, Brahmanism, Jainism, all are equally, sculptures are executed here. Now, artists of Madura chiefly used grey colored stones for making images. Madura used spotted red sandstone. Am I right? So your correct answer, they are asking for the correct one. So your answer will be C. That's it. So this series will continue. You try to solve maximum number of questions. Thereby, when you practice it, yes, you will get more conceptual clarity, and by practicing them, you will learn different aspects of the same concepts, and it will definitely boost your preparation in this prelims 2023. Am I right? Yes, 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 yes.